If you've ever had that uneasy moment when you suspect an endpoint is compromised, but you don't yet know how far the attacker got, what they touched, or what to do next, you're not alone. Modern attacks move fast, and without the right visibility and response tool, small signals can turn into major incident. Let me introduce you to a course where you will learn how to tackle these real-world scenarios using Microsoft Security Operations Platform. Hello and welcome. We're glad you could join us. My name is Jean-François Bilodeau, a Microsoft technical trainer. In this session, we'll cover how to mitigate threats using Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, how it fits into Microsoft Defender XDR, and how you can use it to prevent, detect, investigate, and respond to advanced endpoint threats. By the end, you'll understand the core capabilities of Defender for Endpoint, how to deploy and onboard devices, how to harden Windows with attack surface reduction, how to investigate devices, files, users, IPs, and domains. We'll also take a look at automation, alerting and detection tuning, indicators, and vulnerability management, so you can reduce risk and respond confidently when something suspicious happens. So let's get started with this session. Here we set the stage for defending against cyber threat with Microsoft Security Operations Platform. Let's take a look at where this session fits into your journey. Learning Path 4 focuses on mitigating threat using Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, the endpoint detection and response platform that helps security team investigate attacks, take action across devices in the industry. Here's what we'll cover. We'll start by protecting against threat with Microsoft Defender for Endpoints, then move into deploying Defender for Endpoint environment. From there, we'll implement Microsoft Security Enhancement, perform device investigation, and take action directly on a device. Next, we'll investigate evidence and entity, configure manage automation, and then we'll configure for alert and detection, including tuning and indicators. Finally, we'll wrap up by utilizing threats and vulnerability management to continuously understand and reduce exposure across your endpoints. Now we begin the first module, protecting against threat with Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. As with any technical training content, keep in mind that this material can evolve as the product evolves, and we'll want to validate detail against current documentation when implementing in production. After completing this module, you should be able to do three key things. First, define the capabilities of Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. Second, describe how to hunt for threats within your network. And third, understand how Defender for Endpoint can help remediate risk in your environment once a suspicious activity is identified. Microsoft Defender for Endpoint is a platform designed to help enterprise network prevent, detect, investigate, and respond to advanced threats on their endpoint. The flow starts with onboarding. Devices are brought into the service through one of the supported management tools. Once onboarded, those devices begin providing signal, and they can also receive response instruction through Microsoft Defender for Endpoint signal data. In many organizations, managed devices are joined to and or enrolled in Microsoft Entra ID, while unmanaged devices are not joined to Entra ID. For domains joined Windows device, synchronization into Entra ID is typically handled using Entra ID Connect. With that foundation in place, the alerts, investigation, and response action for Defender for Endpoint are managed centrally in Microsoft Defender XDR. If you want a deeper architecture walkthrough, there's also a supporting video titled Microsoft Defender for Endpoint Architecture, which runs about 6 minutes. Here we see a practical outcome. Microsoft Defender for Endpoint detecting a malicious payload on a compromised endpoint. The key idea is that endpoint signals and analytics combine to surface suspicious behavior and known bad indicators quickly. So responders can move from detection to investigation and containment before the attack spreads. This content is aligned with early learning path material, reinforcing the same detection and response story end to end. Let's take a look at what security operation feels like in Defender for Endpoint. Its detection and response capabilities provides advanced attack detection and are near real-time and actionable. When a threat is detected, the system creates alert for an analyst to investigate, then alerts that shares the same attack technique or that are attributed to the same attackers that are aggregated into a higher level entity called an incident. That aggregation matters because it helps analysts investigate and respond to threats collectively instead of chasing individual alerts in isolation. All of this is guided by an assume breach mindset. Defender for Endpoint continuously collects behavioral cyber telemetry such as process information, network activities, deep visibility into the kernel and memory manager, user sign-in activity, and changes to the registry and file system, amongst others. If you'd like to see incident investigation in action, there's a supporting incident investigation video and a Microsoft Learn page that walks through the incident investigation process. Next, we move into deploying the Microsoft Defender for Endpoint environment, setting up the service, onboarding devices, and configuring the environment so your team can start receiving meaningful signal and taking a response action. After completing this module, you'll be able to create a Microsoft Defender for Endpoint environment, onboard devices so they can be monitored and configured, key environment setting that govern how the service operates in your organization. Let's start with creating your environment. Administration and investigation happens in a Microsoft Defender XDR portal at security.microsoft.com. During provisioning, your tenant's geolocation determines the data storage location, and it's important to note that you can't change that location after setup. In terms of data retention, Defender for Endpoint data is returned for 180 days. But when you use the advanced hunting query access, it is available for 30 days. You can also choose whether preview features are enabled. By default, they're on, and you can change that later. A practical tip: if the Defender XDR portal, selecting any item in the endpoint section or any endpoint feature will initiate the onboarding experience. It's all we need to do. Finally, keep the service footprint in mind. Defender for Endpoint operates in Microsoft Azure data center in the European Union, the United Kingdom, United States, and other regions as well. And customer data may be stored in the tenant geo-identified during provisioning, or if another Microsoft online service processes that data according to the service data storage rules. Here we walk through the updated onboarding experience in the Microsoft Defender XDR portal. You'll navigate to the Assets area and then into the devices to start initializing Defender for Endpoint. During this process, you may notice an in-progress message, often shown with a coffee cup, while the service prepares the environment and the feature for your tenant. Now let's take a look at the device onboarding. You'll go to the onboarding section in the Defender for Endpoint experience to onboard any supported device type. Based on the platform you choose, you'll be guided through the right set of steps and presented with management and deployment tool option that fits that device. So the process is consistent whether you're using enterprise management tooling or a more direct method. If you want a quick visual walkthrough, there's also a short supporting video called Microsoft Defender for Endpoint Onboarding Client, and we'll also demo that step later on in this video. As you plan onboarding, it helps to be clear on what platforms are supported. Defender for Endpoints works across Windows, macOS, Linux, Android, and iOS, so you can build consistent endpoint visibility and response across a diverse fleet. Now let's focus on access control. Defender for Endpoint uses the Microsoft Defender XDR unified role-based access control model, giving you granular control over what different roles can see, which devices they can access, and what actions they can take. You can control who is allowed to take specific action by creating custom role and then selecting exactly which Defender for Endpoint capabilities those roles can use. You can also control who can see device information by creating device groups based on criteria like the device name, tag, domain, and more. And then granting role access to those device groups through a specific Microsoft Entra ID security group. If you want a guided walkthrough, there's a supported video on role-based access control for Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, and we'll also demonstrate this later on in this video. Here, we highlight a newer approach to role management. Permission options you can assign, including manage security operation, viewing data, performing active remediation action, using live response capability, investigating alert, managing portal settings, and managing security posture setting. What's important is where this is done now. Custom roles are set up in the Microsoft Defender XDR settings, bringing role configuration into a single unified place in the portal. Device groups are a powerful way to scope both visibility and automation. You can create device group and then use them to limit access to related alert and data to specific Entra ID user groups that have assigned RBAC role. You can also configure different auto remediation settings for different set of devices and assign specific remediation level that apply during automated investigations. During investigation, device group become a practical filter as well. You can narrow the device list to a specific group using the group filter. When you create a device group, you'll set the automated remediation level for that group, specify matching rules that determine which device belong based on things like the device name, the domain, tags, operating system platform, select the Entra ID user groups that should have access to the device, and then rank the device group relative to other groups so overlap is handled predictably. With the environment in place, let's shift into strengthening Windows endpoint. In this module, we'll take a look at Windows security enhancement that reduces the likelihood of compromise and limit what attackers can do if they gain a foothold. After completing this module, you'll be able to understand attack surface reduction in Windows, enable attack surface reduction rule on Windows devices, and configure those rules to match your organization, risk tolerance, and operational needs. Attack surface reduction in Windows is broader than just single control. It's a collection of capabilities designed to reduce common attack paths. These include attack surface reduction rule, hardware-based isolation, application control, exploit protection, network protection, Windows Defender Firewall, web protection, control folder access, and removable storage protection. As you plan adoption, Microsoft's guidance on configuring attack surface reduction capability and which Windows versions support which features helps you choose the right control for your device fleet. Now let's get concrete with attack surface reduction rule. Some common examples include blocking executable content from email client and webmail, blocking all Office application from creating child processes, blocking Office app from creating executable content, blocking Office app from injecting code into other processes, blocking execution of potentially obfuscated script, and using advanced protection against ransomware. Each rule can operate in different mode. Off, not configured or disabled, which maps to 0. Block, which enables the rule, maps to the number 1. Audit, mapping to 2. And warn, mapping to 6. That range is useful because it lets you start with audit or warn to automate impact before enforcing block broadly. For deployment, you can use Microsoft Configuration Manager, Group Policy, PowerShell, Microsoft Intune, or other mobile device management option. In a hands-on demonstration, we're going to see later on how to navigate the Endpoint Manager Admin Center and work through endpoint security policies to configure and deploy these role modes. Now that we've covered core protection and hardening, let's shift into investigation. This is where Defender for Endpoint helps you move from something looks wrong to a clear understanding of what happened, what's affected, and what to do next. After completing this module, you'll be able to use the device page in Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, describe the device forensic information that Defender for Endpoint collects, and explain how behavioral blocking works to stop threats based on what they do, not just what they look like. Let's start with the device inventory. The device inventory page shows you a list of devices in your network where alerts are generated. By default, the list focuses on device with alerts seen in the last 30 days, which helps you prioritize the most recent risk. In the current portal experience, you'll find this inventory under the Assets section, specifically in Devices. When you pivot into a specific device, Defender for Endpoint gives you an investigation workspace built around the context and action. You'll see each device detail, a set of response action you can execute, and a series of tabs such as Overview, Alerts, Timeline, Security Recommendation, Software Inventory, Discovered Vulnerability, and Missing Knowledge Base, KBs. You'll also see the summary cards that helps you quickly orient yourself, like active alerts, logged on user, and a security assessment. So you can decide whether you're dealing with a true incident and what your next step should be. Now let's talk about behavioral blocking and containment on decline. These capabilities help identify and stop threats based on behavior and process trees, even when the threat has already started running. The idea is that next generation protection, endpoint detection and response, and Defender for Endpoint components work together. Cloud intelligence and local sensors combine so suspicious behavior can be blocked or contained quickly. If you want an example focused on this concept, we'll see a couple of examples in demos we'll run later on in this video. Investigation is only half the story. You also need the ability to act. Next, we'll focus on the response action so you can take directly on a device, along with the option to collect forensic data and access system remotely when deeper triaging is required. After completing this module, you'll be able to perform action on the device using Defender for Endpoint, collect forensic data to support an investigation, and access device remotely using built-in response capabilities. When you're investigating a device, Defender for Endpoint gives you device control so it can respond without switching tools. You can perform action, collect data, or remotely access the machine. Common response action includes managing tags, initiating an automated investigation, starting a live response section, collecting an investigation package, running an antivirus scan, restricting app execution, isolating the device, containing the device, consulting a threat expert, and reviewing the activity in the Action Center. One of the most useful forensic options is collect an investigation package. As part of an investigation or response, you can gather a package that includes things like auto-run, install program, network connection, pre-fetch files, running processes, scheduled tasks, the security event log, services, Windows Server, message block session, system information, temp directories, users and groups, and Defender support log, often referenced as WD support logs. This helps you capture a snapshot of the device state for deeper analysis and evidence preservation. For rapid, hands-on triage, live response gives security operation team a near-instant access to a device through a remote shell connection. You can use basic command to inspect what's happening, commands like connection, file info, persistence, process, registry, schedule tasks, and services. When you need deeper capabilities, advanced command help you move from observation to action. Commands such as analyze, get file, run, library, put file, and remediate. There's also a supporting video on Microsoft Defender for Endpoint Live Response, just over 4 minutes, that demonstrates the experience. Once you've investigated the device and taken immediate response action, the next step is often to pivot into the evidence itself: files, user account, IP addresses, domains, and URLs, so you can understand scope, impact, and potential attacker infrastructure. After completing this module, you'll be able to investigate file in Defender for Endpoint, investigate domain and IP addresses, and investigate user account, so you can correlate device activity with identities and external infrastructure. Let's take a look at file investigation. When a file is associated with an alert, suspicious behavior, or notable event, you can investigate its detail to determine whether it exhibits malicious activity, identifies the attacker's motivation, and understand the potential scope of the breach. This is where you validate whether the file is truly harmful, whether it's widespread, and how it connects to the larger attack chain. If you want to see deeper analysis capability, there's a supporting video called the Microsoft Defender for Endpoint Deep Analysis, and additional guidance on responding to file alert. Identity is often the real target, so investigating user account is critical. You can identify accounts which are the most active alert, commonly shown as users at risk on dashboard, and investigate scenarios like potentially compromised credential. You can also pivot into a user account directly from an alert, or device investigation to look for patterns such as lateral movement where the same user account appears across multiple devices, or suspicious sign-in activity suggests account abuse. When an IP address shows up in telemetry, investigating it helps you determine whether it's benign, suspicious, or clearly malicious. In the IP view, you can examine where the IP is seen worldwide, look up reverse DNS names, review alerts related to that IP, check whether the IP appears in your organization, and understand prevalence. How often is that IP is observed in your environment? Domain and URLs often connect endpoint behavior to attacker infrastructure. In the URL and domain view, you can review domain details and registrant contact information. See Microsoft's verdict and check incident related to the URL or domain. You can understand prevalence within your organization and see the most recently observed device that communicated with that URL or domain. Next, we'll focus on automation. Because at enterprise scale, consistent response depends on smart default, controlled remediation, and integration that helps enforce policy without slowing down analysts. After completing this module, you'll be able to configure advanced feature in Microsoft Defender for Endpoint and manage automation setting. So investigation and remediation can be scaled safely across different device group and operational requirements. Here we explore the advanced feature area, which provides a set of on-off switches for major feature within the product. In this context, we're focusing specifically on the settings that influences automation. So you can decide whether you want the service to act automatically, where you want human approval, and what data source automated investigation can use. Automation quality depends heavily on what data automated investigation can collect and analyze. With file content analysis, you can enable a capability where certain files and email attachments are automatically uploaded to the cloud for additional inspection during an automated investigation. With memory content analysis, you can enable automated investigation of processed memory content. When this is turned on, memory content might be uploaded to Microsoft Defender for Endpoint as part of an automated investigation. You can also control what automation should skip by configuring automation folder exclusion. These exclusion lets you specify folder that automated investigation will bypass, and you can define attributes such as the folder path themselves, file extension, and file names for fine-tuning what gets excluded. Now let's take a look at automated investigation and remediation level. This is how you decide what the system can fix on its own versus what requires approval from us. Options include full, where threats can be remediated automatically, and several semi-level where approval is required, such as requiring approval for any remediation, requiring approval for core folder remediation, or requiring approval for non-temp folder remediation. If you want no automated response, you can also set a level that disables automated remediation action. These settings are often applied by device group, so you can be more aggressive where appropriate and more cautious on sensitive systems. Here we connect endpoint risk to access control by using Microsoft Defender Endpoint Manager and conditional access to block at-risk devices. The flow starts by turning on the Microsoft Intune connection from the Microsoft Defender XDR portal. Next, you turn on the Defender for Endpoint integration in the Intune Admin Center, and then you create a compliance policy in Intune, assign that policy to the right users or devices, and finally create a Microsoft Entra ID conditional access policy that can enforce access decision based on device compliance or risk. There's also a supporting video on conditional access with Defender for Endpoint. Now we'll focus on how alerts are configured and managed. Because detection is only helpful if the right people are notified, noise is controlled, and your indicators and policies align to how your organization operates. After completing this module, you'll be able to configure alert settings in Microsoft Defender for Endpoint and manage indicators so you can improve signal to noise and enforce blocking or auditing for known indicators of compromise. Let's revisit advanced feature from a detection and investigation perspective. This area provides many on-off switch that controls how Defender for Endpoint connects with other services and how information is shared across the broader security stack. So your alerting and investigation experience is unified. Here are several key integrations you can enable. Microsoft Defender for Identity integration retrieves enriched user and device data from Defender for Identity and forwards Defender for Endpoint signal, improving correlation across identities and endpoints. Sharing endpoint alerts with Microsoft Compliance Center supports broader governance and compliance workflow. Microsoft Defender for Cloud App can receive Defender for Endpoint signal, giving administrators deeper visibility into both sanctioned cloud apps and shadow IT. The Microsoft Intune connector enables sharing of device information and stronger policy enforcement. Web content filtering can be enabled to help control access to risky categories of content. And Microsoft Secure Score can receive Defender for Endpoint signal, so Secure Score reflects your device security posture and improvement opportunities. Here we look at how Defender for Endpoint can notify the right people at the right time. You can configure the service to send email notification to specific recipient whenever new alerts are generated. This ensures that the appropriate responders are immediately notified and can take action based on alert severity. Configuration is restricted to user with the Managed Security Settings permission. In environment using basic permission management, this typically includes Security Administrator or Global Administrator. You can fine-tune which alert severity level triggers notifications and manage the recipient list over time, with new recipients only receiving alerts generated after they've been added. Not every alert represents a real risk, and alert tuning helps you reduce noise without losing visibility. Here, we explore how to create tuning rules for alerts that are known to be benign in your environment, such as internally developed tool or common administrative process. You can scope suppression rules to a specific user, a device group, so only matching alerts are suppressed while others remain visible. In scenarios that requires broader suppression, such as an organization-wide benign tool, administrators can suppress alert across all devices. This approach helps analysts stay focused on meaningful threat instead of chasing expected activity. Indicators of compromise, or IOC, are a foundational capability in endpoint protection. Defender for Endpoint allows security team to define indicators and enforce action, such as allowing, auditing, blocking, or remediating activities tied to those indicators. You can manage IOCs for files, IP addresses, URL, domains, and certificates. This enables proactive blocking of known threats, consistent enforcement across devices, and tighter control during incident responses. There's also a supporting video on unified IOCs that demonstrates how those indicators work together across the platform. With detection and response covered, we now shift into understanding and reducing exposure. Microsoft Defender Vulnerability Management Tool helps you continuously identify weaknesses across your environment, providing visibility into vulnerabilities before they're exploited. After completing this module, you'll be able to describe how vulnerability management works in Defender for Endpoint, identity vulnerabilities in your devices, and track emerging threats so remediation can be prioritized effectively. Defender Vulnerability Management uses built-in and agentless scanners to continuously monitor and detect risk, even when devices aren't connected to the corporate network. This capability provides near real-time insights into vulnerabilities, misconfiguration, and exposure trends. The goal is to help security teams move from reactive patching to proactive risk reduction. There's also an interactive guide available that walks through threats and vulnerability management end to end. Here we explore how vulnerability data is organized and consumed. The Vulnerability Management Navigation pane provides multiple views, including a dashboard with overall exposure scores, threat awareness, and top recommendation. You can drill into security recommendations to see affected software, remediation option, and threat context. Remediation View helps track active fixes and exceptions, while Inventory provides visibility into all organizational assets. Additional View highlights known weaknesses, recent events that impacts risk, and baseline assessment for compliance monitoring. Once risks are identified, remediation follows a clear flow. You select a recommendation, submit a remediation request, and then review progress as fixes are implemented. This structured approach helps security and IT team collaborate effectively and track risk reduction over time. Now let's see Defender for Endpoint in action. Welcome to our Defender for Endpoint demo. In this demo, what we're going to do is set up device onboarding. We're going to onboard a device, and following that, let's configure a role, and we'll also configure a device group. We're already logged into Defender for Endpoint, so let's begin by setting up device discovery. We're going to go down to System Settings. In here, let's go to Device Discovery. And let's make sure that standard discovery is turned on. It's already turned on by default. So there's nothing to change. So now we'll move to onboarding a device. Let's head back to our settings. Let's go to Endpoints, scroll down, and let's select onboarding. Here we can choose what kind of device we want to onboard. Is it Windows? Is it Linux? Is it Mac? Is it Android, iOS? Choose whichever device you want to use. In our case, we're going to go with Windows 11. Connectivity type, we'll leave it as streamline. There are different methods that we can use to deploy the onboarding. Group policy, Microsoft Endpoint Configuration Manager, amongst others. But in our case, we'll keep it simple. We'll just go with a local script. It's not the most scalable approach. This is not what you want to use across a large organization, but adequate for our demo. Let's download the script. Shouldn't take long. And let's open it. It's a zip file. So what we'll do is we'll unzip it in Explorer. Right click and extract. Done. Next, let's run it. We're going to run it as administrator. We need administrator privileges. Run as administrator. Run. Yes. And there we go. Let's confirm that, yes, we want to onboard this device. And we've successfully onboarded this device in Defender for Endpoint. We can now close the window and continue working as we see fit. Now that we've onboarded our device, let's verify that it got onboarded successfully. What we're going to do here is navigate to our assets, select devices, and there we go. There's base 23B. That's the device we've onboarded over here. Let's run a test to make sure it's running correctly, that it's sending telemetry. So we're going to go back to our system settings, endpoints. Let's scroll down to onboarding once again. Scroll past the onboarding strategy, section 2, run a detection test. We've got a command we can run over here to test. Make sure that the onboarding was successful. We'll copy that to the clipboard. Let's start a command prompt using elevated privileges. Run as administrator. Yes. And let's paste the command in here. Execute. The prompt automatically closed. That's normal. And done. We've issued the test. And now let's see if we successfully simulated an attack. All right, let's make sure that our tests work. We'll go down to incidents and alerts. Incident, and there's the test alert, suspicious PowerShell command line. Let's manage the incident and mark it as a security test. Done, save. So we've tested that the device is onboarded and also actioned our first incident. In this demo, let's set up a security role and an assignment. We're going to head back down to our system settings. Under system settings, let's go to Microsoft Defender XDR, permissions and role. Scroll down a little bit, and there's go to permissions and roles. Let's create a custom role. We'll use the name Tier 1 Support. Skip over the description. Next. What permission group do I want to assign our team? Let's select Security Operation, and we'll give them all read and manage permission. Apply. Next. Who do we want to assign the role to? Let's create an assignment. We'll name the assignment Tier 1 Support, and let's assign this to the group SG-IT. Done, add, next, and submit. We've created our first role and we've done our first assignment at the same time. All right, in this demo, let's create a device group, add devices, and select who can perform remediation. So we're going to go down to our system settings. Let's head into endpoints. Let's select device groups when we'll create our first device group. Add, let's choose a name. We'll simply call this one regular. Remediation level, let's select full remediation. Next, which devices should be part of that group? Let's keep it simple. We're going to select all of our Windows 11 devices. Select OS, Windows 11. Next, we can preview which devices would be in that group. There's only one. That's the device we onboarded earlier in this demo. That's good. Base 23B. Next. And finally, who can perform remediation action on that device? Let's select our support team. That will be SG-IT. There's the group. Select. Add selected groups, submit, and we're done. We've created our first device group, and now we can continue creating additional device group, reorder them as necessary. Let's recap what we've covered in this learning path. We explored how Defender for Endpoint helps prevent, detect, investigate, and response to advanced endpoint threats. We looked at threat management through near real-time detection and incident, device onboarding, and configuration, attack surface reduction to limit exposure, and vulnerability management to continuously identify and reduce risk across the environment. This concludes our session. There are many ways to continue your learning journey. We encourage you to watch other videos in this course or search out your next favorite topic on Microsoft Learn at aka.ms/learn.